Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where we honor our nation's veterans by preserving and sharing their stories. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m. To learn more about our mission, watch veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. Today is Monday, June 29th, 2026. We're talking with Chuck Dodge, who served in the United States Air Force. So good afternoon, Chuck.
Well, glad to be here, and it's an honor to be here with you, Bill.
And, we just met a couple days ago, and here we are recording your story. So things move quick in my world.
Providence or divine guidance, whatever it is, I'm here. Right. I'm glad to be here.
Serendipity.
Yes.
Yeah, one of those words, anyway. So we'll get started, and the first question I always ask, when and where were you born?
Owasso, Michigan, December 5th, 1948.
Wow.
I know.
And lived in Owasso your whole life?
No. Okay. I lived in Lansing here from about 82 through 90. And then I just traveled around and back to Owasso, and then during the 80s, I had over 30 jobs, so I moved around. I went to Missouri from mid-86 through 87. I worked for a company called Service Master. They were hiring advisors to the GM plant in Wentzville, Missouri, and I never said I'd work in a factory, so never say never.
Right. You just don't know what's going to happen. So did you grow up, though, in Owasso?
Yeah.
Is that where your family lived? Yeah. And brothers and sisters?
Two brothers, Larry and Leroy. They've both passed on now, and Larry passed away in 2001, and Leroy during COVID 2020 he had lung cancer.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry to hear that. And so were you the oldest, the middle?
Yep, I was the oldest.
The oldest. Yeah. Okay, so you were in charge?
Well, we grew up in foster homes.
Okay.
And for the first probably 7 or 8 years of my life, we lived in Chesaning because my one grandmother lived in Oakley, and another grandmother lived in Chesaning, and she had a house, a duplex. So we were able to snag that, and then in and out of foster homes. And
did you stay together as brothers in and out of foster homes, or were you separated?
Both. There was a time that we were both in. There was a place called Otter Lake. It was a boys' school, I think near Lapeer in that area. And we were there together, and then maybe there was one other time, but normally we were split up. And my other two brothers, they didn't have the path that I had. And I always thought, I had this notion that my grandmothers and my relatives favored me. Now, that was just something I had because both the other brothers, Leroy, he was the youngest, born in 53. He, alcohol and just didn't take care of his family and kids. And my brother Larry passed away in 2001, and he had spent 25 out of 50 years in and out of prison.
Okay.
So they, different path.
Yeah.
Different path. And
how was it that you ended up in foster care, if you don't mind my asking?
Now this may sound a little off, but I think my mother used a system to parent us. Oh. I really do. I don't think, and I don't know how my mother got her belief system. One time I asked my grandmother, her mother, I said, Grandma, how Ma doesn't want to hold us or hug us because we never really had any contact comfort. And then she told me this, and I didn't have a follow-up question. She said, well, when your mother was younger, she never wanted to be held. Now the follow-up question was, did she not want to be held, or did you not want to hold her? So that's my story, and and that created for me throughout my life different relationships. We can talk about that if you want to, but I had a 13-year marriage from 68 to 80, and Joanne was with me in the Air Force at that time. And then an 8-year relationship here in Lansing from about 81 to 89, and then another one through the 90s. And I couldn't, the belief system was, well, the person won't stay anyway, so that person will do something or I'll do something. And here we are.
And if something doesn't happen, you'll make it happen, right? I mean, kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
And you don't, unless you really want to stop and reflect, you just keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So did you grow up in different schools then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
All right. Were you changing schools at a pretty regular clip there?
Well, let's go through it. Chesaning from about kindergarten till third or fourth, Owasso, 4, 5, and 6. Corunna in a foster home, 7th grade, middle school, and back to Owasso from 8 through graduation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did you find yourself always trying to make new friends then, or did you just not bother to make friends? Or what was that like for you as a kid? I mean, that's a lot of bouncing around.
That's a part I don't really remember. The only one thing I remember was in 7th grade, we went to Corunna, and it was test time. And I go, what? I just got here. But as far as the friends really didn't come into play, I think, until 8th or 9th grade. Mm-hmm. 9th grade, it was a lot easier. But there's parts of my childhood that when I was moving around, I don't really remember. The people I lived with, except for one person, and I was 12. That was the Corunna experience. Josh and Eleanor Robbins. Josh was amazing. Eleanor, on the other hand, she was a little hurt. I realize that now. So she hurt us as well with words. And one day she told me that I would never amount to anything. And you internalize that and kind of take that with you. That was one of those phrases that probably it stayed with me for a long time.
Yeah, that's a tough one to hear as a kid.
Yeah.
So where did you graduate from then?
Owasso.
Okay. Now, did you play any sports? Did you have favorite topics? What was...
Baseball.
Okay.
Baseball in 9th grade. No, 10th grade. And then I was going to do baseball in 11th grade, but I got a job. Mm-hmm. It was just co-op, and it was just a fantastic path. And I loved Latin. Latin, in 1964, my Latin teacher, Vera Self, here's one of those things that stays with you. She told me I could be a teacher. Well, here's my story. I'm not smart enough. We're poor. I'm not going to college. So 30 years later, when I was doing some teaching, I realized she was right. But in 1967, when I graduated, now remember, I wasn't smart, right?
Right.
I graduated 111 out of 359.
Top third.
Yeah, exactly. But there was no one to tell me, hey, you're smart. I went on my own story.
Well, and somebody told you you'd never amount to anything, right? So
yeah, that's right. I didn't connect that up, but you're right. But she was not totally right, because when I went into the Air Force, I was just thinking, I got 3 promotions. But then again, I heard Sergeant Jones, Dodge, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Dodge, you can do it.
So let's talk about that. You graduate high school in 67, and what happens next? I mean, you're aging out of the foster system, right?
Well, I was out of the foster care system probably by the 8th grade, and my mom was... We were with my mom and dad. My dad was, I'm not sure where he was all the time, but I was with my mom.
Okay.
So I aged out then.
Okay. So when you graduated high school, then you're living with your mom at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so what happens next?
I'm working at Redmond's Motor Division in Owasso in data processing. Mm-hmm. And probably had been there, I think maybe 66, and then in 67, my boss, Ron Ackles, he had just gotten out of the Air Force. And that was that time, we had the draft going on, and I probably had thoughts of, hey, I don't want to get drafted. In talking with Ron, conversation led to, well, Chuck, why don't you go to the Air Force? So that was through his prompting. Uh-huh. I went over in Flint, and I think it was December 19th, started the process, and the MOS I got was a 68885, 68550, was the same in data processing that I was doing at Redmond's. So it was just a slide over.
Right, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? So when did you go to basic?
February of 68.
Okay. And talk to me about that experience. What was that like?
Well, I'll tell you a little funny story here, and I think we can put it on here. So the first day we're there, we're led into the dorm, and Sergeant Killian was his name, and empty all your stuff out on your bunk. Well, I had some my girlfriend at the time and her mother, they were big on X-Lax, so I had some X-Lax in my pocket, and that landed on the bunk, and the TI came up to me right square, about that far from me, and said, "Airman, you're not going to need those because we're going to kick the crap out of you." Oh, he didn't use the word crap.
Right.
And I thought, holy cow, what did I get myself into? It was new. Mm-hmm. And there were people that were attempting to get out on medical leave, and I persevered. And I made it.
Yeah.
But I learned certainly discipline and things that I didn't realize until I, started reflecting back on it. And it's like, yeah, mentoring others and just being a part of a community, if you will.
Right.
Just for a while, we gotta pull together here.
Yeah, you can't make it on your own.
No, absolutely. And they take the first 5 weeks, 4.5 to 5 weeks to break you down, and then they ease up, and you go, wow, it wasn't that bad at all at the other end of it, at the other side. So glad to get out. Glad to get out as maybe I was 20 at the time, because I turned 19. I was 19 in December, and then I was still 19. So. Yeah, and am I looking back now? I'm glad it was one of the best unconscious decisions I've ever made.
It happens sometimes, right, Chuck?
But, I've read a lot, and Wolfgang von Goethe said, life must be lived forward. But it only makes sense, really, when you look back on it. And there's a tapestry that's woven, and I'm really in touch with that now. I found it. I've always been teaching. I've always enjoyed helping people, and now hopefully the mission can certainly continue with veterans, because I don't know everything, but I want to help. I want to help in whatever way I can. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a difference between looking back and living in the past, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that's I think that's kind of the meaning there. Is like, it's okay to look back and learn the lessons, but you can't live there. Yeah. Because there's only now.
Yeah. Well, it's only a memory anyway.
Right. And it's your memory, and it might not even be accurate.
But you're right. You're right. We could reframe it if we wanted to, but I think just to take it for, wow, I did that. Yeah. Well, instead of judgment now, it's being curious and fascinated. Wow, I guess I didn't learn that lesson right away. But
yeah, so you go to basic, you graduate basic training, you go to your technical school. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they call it in the Air Force.
Well, I didn't do tech school. What I did was I just went. I went right to Dover. I came home. It was around let's see. It was about, I'm thinking March 20 or 21, and I got married March 30th, and my boss, Ron, was my best man. Oh. So there's that connection from him being that voice as, well, why don't you do this? Yeah. And then, that's immortality. And then I left my family in 1980. I was working state of Michigan. I got a job there after I got home, and computer operations supervisor. And then one day a friend of mine came up to me and said, Chuck, you have a nice personality. Why don't you come be a salesman? And it was with Wyckoff Fundraising out of Vassar, a fundraising company, going to schools. And well, I learned, Bill, that you need more than a good personality to be a salesman.
Right.
It helps.
It's a lot of work.
Well, it's a mindset. There's an employee mindset. There's an entrepreneurial mindset. They're both okay.
Right.
And I had the employee mindset. And I failed miserably. And then after I joined in August, and then in November, December, I was ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home. It was a couple days before my birthday in 1980, and just left. Told my wife, I'm leaving. I moved out. My son was 6. So that began a trajectory of over 30 jobs during the 80s, and I mentioned the service master. So it was a. Now I look back, it was a learning experience. Lost my family, but now I'm looking for what was in that. What can I do? How can I use that? Because that was a decade.
Well, yeah. So let's think about how you got there. So when you did what, like a 2-year stint in the Air Force?
4
years in the Air Force, and then you got out, and then you went to work for the state of Michigan.
No. There was a 6-month job, a computer operator job prior to that.
Okay.
And then that was I think it was around the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, I was able to do the state of Michigan social services downtown at the Lewis Cass building.
So you were at Dover for all 4 years then?
Yeah.
Okay. And when we talked last week, you were saying how you could look out your office window and see the caskets stacked up.
Yeah.
So let's before we leave the Air Force experience, because I think all these things build on each other. What was your experience like in the Air Force for that 4 years, and how did that impact you?
Well, at that time, we knew that the bodies were coming back in caskets, and because Dover was that key base, and we could go out go out into the warehouse and just see those caskets stacked high. Now, at that time, I'm thinking, wow, but it didn't really have the impact that it has now. When I think about, wow, the sacrifice that all of those people made, because we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and no matter who they were giants. They were out there, that part of history, doing their thing. But as far as the work, I was really good at what I did, and I was fast and efficient. And what our job was to get those manifests together so that the planes could leave. We had a cutoff time at 1900 hours. So then we were supposed to wait until all the cargo was either retrograde or on the plane. And sometimes we could get done early, and we were fast moving, and then created the manifest, and so that the captain or the pilots would know what cargo they had. And I shared with you that for a long time I was just an office guy. My service didn't really matter. And then I went to that veterans conference in Grand Rapids, and there was a dean of the college speaking, and I only remember one sentence: every person's service matters. Mm-hmm. And it brought a tear to my eye. It touched my heart, because we provide, there are mechanics that do their job, there are pilots that do their job, and there's office personnel that do their job. And we all have a job to do. It matters. If there's anyone out of it, it doesn't go.
Right.
And in that, and now I didn't do much with the experience. You can tell it. I remember it. But times we still kept on going on. And I went in Flint. There was a fellow named Ed Ronders. He was probably former military, and he created an organization called Vet Biz Central. And I think I connected up with Ed in 2005. Don't remember how, but he had veterans networking. Mm-hmm. And then I think that was once a month, and then there was an annual summit someplace. And I did a few of those, and it was just, the vets, there was different resources coming to the table, and they were educating us on that, and they were really inspiring. And so that's the service was. I look at it now, and I wish I would have I wish I would have, no regrets, but I wish I would have paid a little more attention. But then again, that consciousness was, I need to just get in and get out. But I learned to put my fatigues all in a row and shine my shoes and keep my locker.
Fold your socks just so.
Yeah. Here's a funny story. We're on the PC field and we're on our backs, and there's a platform up there. That's where the sergeants are watching us, and one of them says, "Hey, there's a guy out there with some jewelry on." Well, you're not supposed to have jewelry on, and I go, "I wonder who that is." It was me. So T.I. comes over to me and says, "Hey, Airman, you got 1 minute and some seconds to get that back into the dorm and into your locker." No way I could have done. So I take off running. I get to the dorm guard lets me in. I put the watch in my foot locker and I get back. I'm running both ways. And he knew I wouldn't make it. He said, You gave it to the dorm guard, didn't you? I said, "No." I put it in my locker. Get back down. Give me some more push-ups or whatever it was. So, but that was one of those situations where they just almost tease you.
Uh-huh.
But I made it.
Yeah. They give you a task that they know you're not going to be able to complete.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah. Now, did your wife accompany you to Dover?
Yes, she was with me in Dover, and it was, and I don't remember. I know she had different jobs, but I don't remember a lot of what we did together. But yeah, she was there with me, and it was. And as a matter of fact, I have a picture of when I was sergeant. We've got a nice photo taken together.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how did you meet your wife? I know we're going back a little bit, but I'm just curious.
No, back.
So how did you
8th
meet?
grade, 9th grade. She lived one block north of me.
Uh-huh.
I lived on a street called Cass Street. She lived on Genesee Street, and we we became to like each other, and just here we are.
Yeah, yeah. Those things happen, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And she was a wonderful person, and again, I didn't really appreciate that because my mind, the mindset, it just shifts. Now I look back and go, wow, what a great wife she was.
Right. What you thought you wanted maybe that wasn't necessarily what you wanted or needed, but that's where you were at the time.
Yeah. I'll give you a story. When I worked in Lansing here, I'd come home and sometimes I'd go out drinking before I even come home, and I thought I was getting away with something, but I wasn't. And then she ended up getting dementia. In 2011, she was into a Durand, the convalescent center.
Yeah.
And I had heard Wayne Dyer, the speaker, apologize to his wife in public, go in an audience. Wayne was one of my great spiritual teacher to me, and he said to his wife, "You were a better wife to me than I was a husband to you." So I told Joanne that, and almost immediately she said, "Yeah, while you were out drinking, I told Jason you were working." It was like, oh, she said I had forgiven you years ago. So that it was like that was one of the of all the things I've said, people said that was a moment. I got to put that into my in my story as well. It was just And then when she was dying, I had a chance to sit with her in it was September. She passed away on September 8th about August 25th. She lived for 2 weeks, and I sat with her every day for just a little bit, maybe a half hour or so, because I just felt like I wanted to. It was the best way I could honor her. And then 3 days before she passed, she was in Durand, and I said, "Joanne," because she couldn't talk, but she could hear. I said, "Give me a smile if you can hear me." And she gave me a smile. That was it. So, and then she passed on, and then Just a great person.
Yeah.
And not realizing that she was a great person, and I wasn't the person to help her be a great person or bring it out of her, because I had my own path, and so she had her path as well. But
Right.
yeah.
So let's go back then a little bit. You do your time in the Air Force. You get out. Did you come? So you came right back to Michigan after the Air Force?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Lived in Owasso.
Yeah. So after 4 years of being in uniform and doing that job, did you have feelings either way about that last time that you put your uniform on and you knew that you were done?
Glad.
Yeah.
Because
And that's fine.
no, again, 19-year-old punk, and it didn't change I also had a part-time job after work. I worked at Kent General Hospital in Dover. I did data processing. We processed outpatient billing. There's I met a lot of nice people to work with, but as far as, I think it was just, all right, they had early outs, and certainly I think I got out 3 years, 10 months, and 3 days. So you can see that my mindset was just to get out and get away, because one thing I didn't really care for was the regimentation.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted it and I did it, and I never knew why until many years later. I started studying Henry David Thoreau, and he had a quote that said, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears the beat of a different drummer."
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing the beat of a different drummer, had no clue what that was. It's like when I went to LCC, I also, there in early 72, there was a quote on the wall by Socrates: "The unexamined life is not worth living." Now, not total, but when you start to examine your life, it pulls out more worth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been doing probably for decades now. A voracious reader, didn't always use what I read, but yeah, I'm doing some work on the brain and how the brain and the mind and the subconscious work together. But so I'd like to say I was proud. I'm proud now, without a doubt. I'm proud now more than I've ever been. But because when that dean said your service mattered,
Mm-hmm.
I started a new mindset to go, all right, what else was there? We worked with civilians also. Kenny Cooper was an amazing supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just do anything for you. Same as when I got my job on co-op with Ron Ackles, Bob Hodge, just a lovely man. He very patient, teaching. So I've really had fantastic mentors.
Yeah.
At the time, that's nice. Now I go back and I complete gratitude. It's like angels among us.
Mm-hmm.
Angels among us. And I know that I can help other people do the excavation on their life in a nice way, to go back and look. You got to have the courage to look.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out well, bite the bullet and go into it anyway. Be vulnerable, because vulnerability leads to courage. You don't have to hide it. And it'll help you move forward.
Right.
It's like, wow. So here I'm at 77 in the fourth quarter.
Right. So we got a couple quarters to look at, though. We're going to examine.
Well, let's do that.
We're going to examine that life. So,
okay.
So you get out of the Air Force. We talked a little bit where he worked for about 6 months doing data processing, and then you went to work for the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
That's a good question. I'm thinking, did someone suggest that I go there? I somewhat remember the interview, but I don't really know the details of how I even. Maybe it could have been from maybe LCC, so a connection there that said,
Yeah.
well, why don't you apply over here? Or, yeah.
Well, if you think about the time that you were in data processing too, this was the beginning of data processing, correct?
Computers, yes, in the 60s, yeah.
So you went to work for the state of Michigan in the early 70s?
72.
Then? 72. And then, so from 72 to 1980,
Yeah.
you worked there. So you probably saw a lot of change in how those systems worked.
Well, yeah, there was change. Being in operations, it was more the data systems analyst. The analyst would see more of the change in like software and programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some UNIVAC, and then I think we went to, I don't know if we went to IBM at Lewis Cass building, but there was change, and it was.
Mm-hmm. So what was your job there then? What did you do in that
usually
8
processing?
years
We processed welfare checks.
Okay.
And child care checks, mostly, and then of course there were, if there's other special projects, then we would do those. But that was the social service part of the digital or the computer part of that.
Okay. And so the operational area that you were in was the machinery and computers that process those payments.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're doing this for 8 years, roughly.
Yeah.
And so you talked about it before, but I want to talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
What happened that you're just like, screw it, I'm quitting this job and I'm going to go to work for this other company?
Okay.
What was the catalyst for that?
The catalyst was I was with the state for 8 years.
Yeah.
6 was in computer operations, and I worked, again, don't want to be told what to do. I was working for a person. His name is Bill.
Not me.
Not you. No. And I was in what was called a operations research group. So we worked on special projects for Bill. Mm-hmm. And one day he came up to me and he said, "How's that project going?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about what I need to do here." And he said, "You leave the thinking to me," and walked away. It took me 3 days to go in to tell him how that impacted me. Mm-hmm. And he didn't even remember. So I understand that because I do personality styles, and that's called D behavior. They do things and they don't remember.
Right.
But it impacted me. So I said, I'm getting out of here. So for the next 2 years of that 8-year stint, I was able to transfer to being a data systems analyst, mm-hmm. of which I wasn't really qualified to do, but I was able to do enough to keep the job. But the part was I didn't feel competent at it. And there wasn't anybody there to mentor me. Not that I would have received it anyway.
Right.
We all have these inner nudgings, and then along the way, my friend Randy came along and said, "Well, you could do fundraising." Mm-hmm. So that's what it was, not being appreciated, and that moment, and then I'm out of here again. I'm getting out of here.
Kind of a theme.
Yeah, well, there is a theme. There's a theme of avoidance.
Right.
I'm avoiding the draft. It's not the best way to make decisions, because usually if you make decisions out of avoidance, there's a good chance you're going to need to redo it.
Again and again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then it was July 25th, I believe, that I left there, and then it created this trajectory of many, many jobs. And
so you did this fundraising job for about 6 months then, basically.
More like, well, actually 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
And then I worked for Berman Marshall in town here, mm-hmm. on the south side, some over on wherever over there. It was again, computer operator. I knew that was what I went back to.
Yeah.
And then I got laid off from there to not return back to work. So then I went back to the fundraising company, because I owed him, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Now Randy's gone, and he's got this territory here in Lansing and Grand Ledge and some big schools. So I can make some commissions and then pay off Jim Wyckoff, and that's what I did. And so I did go back and take care of that. And so.
Let's take a quick break.
Before we continue, we'd like to share a resource that may be helpful to veterans and their families. The Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org is designed to connect veterans with support, resources, and a community that understands their experiences. If you or a veteran you know could benefit from those resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app and learn more at vetlifetoday.org. So when all was said and done there, is this right around the same time that you left your wife? You decided?
No, that was in '80 is when I left my wife, and then I was living in Lansing here, and it was a relationship that was kind of like off and on. Again, not really knowing what to do. I didn't have really good decision-making skills.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask a really hard question.
Go ahead.
So, at some point you decided, I'm done with this marriage, right? I don't know if that was over a period of time or if it just was like finally just hit you. But what was it like for you? I'm pretty sure I know what it was like for her, but what was it like for you when you just walked in and said, I'm done, and then left?
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel? Like, what was that?
Oh, it was... remember, I got some shame going on because I wasn't making the money I needed also, and
right.
And then the business itself, I wasn't making any sales, and of course that leads to the money. And I thought, I got to leave. I got to leave. There's and I don't remember any other. There were probably some discussions that went on back here to get to that, but I don't remember those. I just remember my response was, I'm just not making it. I don't feel good about myself. It's probably the similar feeling that I felt when I left the state, because I felt incompetent there because, and the irony is, I had 8 years with the state. 2 more years and I could have got some retirement, but I thought, man, if I hang around this 2 more years, I might be dead.
I'm going to jump off a building.
Yeah. So I left. I left the job, and then I end up leaving my wife, and then it's moving through all these different jobs, and telling the story, I couldn't even picture doing it now. It's like
right.
It takes a lot of effort. But one thing I didn't know how to get jobs, and I could continue that process. And one of my best jobs was in Owasso in 1988. I worked for there's a fire extinguisher company here in Lansing, Duluth Fire and Safety. I don't know if he's still here.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, John Coriel. He had a Duluth Fire and Safety in Owasso for 3 months. I managed that office. I loved the fire extinguisher business. I love teaching people how to use the fire extinguisher, because I realized many people don't know how to use them.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
And one day John came in. We were in Birch Run, and one of the stores up there, one of the Pfaltzgraff or one of the stores that sold glassware, I couldn't get the extinguisher refilled, so I just gave him a new one. He just was all over me. Why'd you give him a new one? Well, that was the right thing to do. So I could see we were going to have some issues, and in November it was either I quit or he fired me, and I quit. Now I left out of principle versus anything else, because I loved it. It was one of the best jobs I've had as far as the fire extinguishers and educating people around that, because if you can go in any store and see fire extinguishers, there's there may be pins in them or not, or they may have coats on them, and they may be sitting on the floor. They're all over the place. That people don't take fire extinguishers seriously. Anyway, that was fun.
So the 80s, you said over 30 different jobs.
Yeah.
That's we're not going to list them all here. I don't think we have
No,
time.
no.
But that's a lot of different jobs. That's a lot of movement. Did you end up somewhere?
Back in Owasso, nothing that was permanent. Oh, let's see. Getting through the 90s, I did work at Radio Shack on the south side for a few weeks. And then I moved back to Owasso, and I got a job at Myers part-time in October of 93 through May of 94. And then I wanted to put some community workshops together. So I did that I think I did 3 of those, one in Durand, one in Chesaning, and one in Owasso. It was just a 4-week course. I just put some stuff together. At the time, Forrest Gump movie was out, The Lion King. So I was telling stories around those because Lion King, for me, is a very spiritual movie. And so I had some other things I had put together, and I just made stuff up, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. I wasn't really good at it, but I made a few bucks.
You're having fun and you made a few dollars, right?
Huh?
You were having fun and you made a few dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then in 95, September of 95, I joined Toastmasters, and that literally it just changed my life totally. So now I can not only help anybody with their story, but to tell their story, to find their voice, their entrepreneurial voice.
Right.
It's a simple process. Again, we just got to be willing to speak up. It's a skill that I have.
So I'm just curious, how did you get into doing these like community programs?
I just went to there was an office where the person that was in charge of it, I said, hey, I just want to do this.
They're like, okay.
Yeah. And they helped me set it up. It was, I think one was 2 or 3 weeks, one was 4 weeks, and I just went there and did it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't do that. I mean, right? That's putting yourself out there, really.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I didn't have when I did my 4 weeks. I didn't have 4 weeks all done.
Right.
I had 1 week done.
Right.
But then excuse me, 1 week led into the next week, and yeah, it was truly fun. And now we're going to do it on a grander scale, because I've done some. I've had some really good speaking engagements, but not consistency.
Right. So is that what you're working on? Is like a consistent program?
Absolutely. One of them, I'll give you an example. I'm a member of the Trade Network. It's here in Lansing, and also it's a barter group, barter organization in Grand Rapids. And the owner, Evan Kay, got me to be the keynote speaker at the NATE convention, which is the National Association of Trade Exchanges, in May of 2017. So I was able to speak, made $2,000 just for the couple days I was there, and they paid my expenses. So, but you go to your default, which is, oh, okay, I did that one. Do I deserve 2? All right.
Yeah.
Yes, and the answer to that is now, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
So you kind of honed your skills through the 90s then, doing like presentations and public speaking and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what are you doing now? At the young age of 77?
Well,
that's 77 is the new 50, right?
Well, in the process of creating speaking engagements, here I'm talking with you, Bill. This is going to be a turning point for me as well. And I got my Legal Shield business that I'm doing, and I want to help. I want to help get that, build that up to where I can have recurring income and educate people and help them get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
And I'm in Owasso now. I'm building a Toastmasters club. We meet at the Big Boy every Tuesday, Tuesdays at noon at the Big Boy. And also I'm creating a business alliance there where business owners, we come together and we talk about our business so that we can, over time, get into referral thinking and use that as the way to increase our business. And it's through relationships, not just, here's my card, call me if you need me. No, here's my card, this is what I do, and every week come back for the people that really can buy into this, tell their story just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So that when we're out, we might hear something that someone needs. Oh, yeah, so-and-so does this. But even have a conversation. You might hear, oh, wow, okay, I know a person that can do that. So I've been working on that. We've got about 15, 16 members, and about 8 show up every week. And I wanted to get that to 30. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't, they might come one time, or 2 times, but you got to be there every week to show us and show yourself. The referrals it goes deep on the relationship, not just horizontal. So that's a lot of fun.
Well, less transactional, right? And
absolutely, yes.
More relational.
Yeah.
I think that's where we run into problems with business is in being transactional. Like, if I'm going to go to your meeting, what am I getting out of it? Well, you might not get anything, but you might make a relationship with someone who you can help later on, or who can help you, right? Yeah.
It's limited thinking if you don't think you would get anything out of a meeting. You've got to go with the idea. And we set it up. It's a relationship ecosystem is what it is.
Uh-huh.
And we got the mission statement, we got it all set up, and I haven't articulated that lately, but I think I need to do that. I do some personal development at the beginning of every meeting. I would always ask, go around the room and say, 30 seconds. What was your win last week? What are you grateful for? Pick something that some positive outlook.
Right.
And then as we go, after we get done with that, I might do something on who learned something last week that you want to share with us. So we've got people that can give us their lessons, and we just show up and whether we're reading books or podcasts or whatever it is we're doing, mm-hmm. to change our this fixed mindset sometimes to a growth mindset. That's really where we want to be. And then over time, see, the average thinking person knows 250 people, and if you walk around thinking that, and every person you meet, and if they buy your service or product to do business with you, how many of those 250 you want to know? That's a minimum.
Right.
That's a minimum. Most people know hundreds, maybe even thousands. So just work that rather than throw a whole bunch out there and hope something lands. That's my vision and my goal. Mm-hmm. And there's a friend I work with. He's also in Legal Shield Women. He does the business side of it, so he's teaching me. Barry, and so we work together, and we don't even financially, we don't benefit each other, but we collaborate.
Right. Because
I can give him things that he can't get from any place but me, and vice versa. It's just a fantastic situation.
Mm-hmm. So you're enjoying it?
Oh, yes. And the other thing is, when we end a meeting, I say, hey, did everybody get something out of this? Because going back to Henry David Thoreau, he said, the cost of a thing is the amount of life you give up for it. So I want all of you to leave here knowing that you traded an hour of your life. You're not getting that back.
Right.
For what we delivered. And the next thing is, if you didn't, then maybe you need to show up bigger.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
That makes sense. I did want to ask another question, and that is, this kind of goes back to relationships. Your son was 6 years old when you left home. Do you maintain a relationship with him? Do you? Or did that just sort of end when you left?
No, as a matter of fact, in 84 and 85, I coached his Little League team in Owasso. It was VFW, 94-55 was my sponsor. We were the best Little League team. We had the midgets and the minors. 84, we won. Great victory, great win. It really was. And 85 was good, but it wasn't as good. It wasn't the same as the first year.
Right.
And that probably, it really kept me going. It kept me youthful because, they say if you want to be young, be around young people. If you want to be old, be around old people. In mind, okay. There are some, and I'm gonna turn some of those people around. But and then I in 86, that's when I moved to Missouri for a year and a half, and we kept in touch, and he ended up moving to in 93. We actually did work together for the summer. We did some painting together. So, I was doing some reading, and he was picking up Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer, and we did some things together, and then he moved to Chicago. I saw him a little bit. Let's see, from 01 to, I'm trying to think of. It was kind of a strange. It was a strange relationship during maybe the early 2000s, and but recently, of course, when his mom passed away in 2021, September 8th, I saw him I didn't see him until her burial on the 10th, and then at the end of the year, I went to Sedona. He lives in Arizona. I went there, and then in 22, I think I saw him once, and in 23, I saw him twice. But I got to open up that door because I'm thinking he doesn't respect me, and I need to ask him that question.
Yeah,
and I'll ask him, and then I'll get back with you, because financially he's way off the hook. I mean, I don't know if he's a millionaire or whatever he is. Okay, he's got huge house. He got $1 million house in Arizona, and I'm looking for a small apartment here in Corona.
Right.
But
right.
It's not what you have. I mean, I want something bigger, but it really is not what you have. It's who you are and who you become. And all these things that I've shared with you, oh my goodness, I wouldn't trade any of them for sitting here across from you telling my story. I just wouldn't, because it would change everything.
Right. Well, you can't lament the decisions you made, good or bad, right? Because none of us has the benefit of knowing what would have happened. Right? If I hadn't left my job, or if I hadn't walked away from my family, if I hadn't done this job, you don't know, because there's no way to know. You only know what happened as a result of the decisions you made. Yeah. And you can kick yourself for it, but it's not going to be healthy.
Yeah. I think one of the best things that we can do is learn to love ourselves in spite of anything. I think that's why we're here. To love who we are, and not what we do necessarily. I'm not condoning any of that. I'll just give you another story. I was in a relationship, and my aunt actually signed on our mortgage, and just to show you what kind of stuff you can create. I thought I had this financial block. I didn't let it come in. I actually lost my aunt's house. We defaulted on the house that we bought, and I lost my aunt's house. I'll tell you, when I sat in front of the judge and sitting in that pew, and he said, "You got to move out," I could have just, it could have just zeroed, let me through, let me fall through. Yeah. It was one of the most humiliating things that's ever happened to me. And on the other side, we were able to move into an apartment at the same place I'm looking at for myself. And it was that we were there a year, and then Jason called me and said, "Hey, Dad, do you and Aunt Marion want to live in Mom's house?" So, yes. So I was really gifted with this house until I met Cindy, and she helped me I met her in November 2022, and then 23 Jason ended up selling the house. So there's, that was a toughie, and Jason really nailed me to the wall on that one. I get that, I really do, but I can't undo it.
Right.
So we do need a conversation, and I need to tell him about my Air Force service because he doesn't know.
Right.
Like I didn't know about my dad's service, and we've got to. Whoever's listening to this, if you're in the service, and your parents or relatives have been in the service, ask them what it was about. Let them tell you the story, and then think back of what it meant for you, regardless of what state of mind you were in when you entered, because that was a time when a lot of people, I didn't think about that. I was only thinking about me. I don't do the draft. There's probably thousands of young people go, "Hey, I'm getting a draft. I'm going to get this thing over with because I know I'm going to do it." But there's so much more in it. But you got to look, because we're different now. Where our mindset is, I'm ready to see what I've learned, and because I didn't think my service mattered, and as I went to Amplified Insight, it said, "That's your message. Develop that, because you really need to tell other people that their service mattered also." So that probably will be the title of the book, and there's maybe a subtitle that goes with it. Every person's service matters.
Well, we've covered a lot in the last hour or so, but is there anything that we haven't talked about that you
Let me
wanted to
take a
talk
look
about?
at my yellow pad here.
Yeah, take a look at your notes there.
Redmond, we must really celebrate our wisdom. And the only way to do that is reflection. We got to stop, and I'll have a program or questions. It's about questions and the willingness to say, how has my life mattered? Not did it matter? How has it mattered? And who was there to help me that I might have not remembered? Angels among us. There's always somebody to help. And my dad, I just realized that I just found out in his obituary that he was a member of the VFW, a lifetime member, and disabled veterans. I don't know what his disability was. I didn't ask him. I didn't think to ask him. So now old people like me can go back and teach you young people, ask. A quick story at school. I'm teaching, substitute teaching. I was always Mr. Dodge, the guest teacher. I didn't like the word sub. So before I did the assignment, this was a couple of years ago, I would do some motivational things to the kids, power of your language or power of thinking. And one morning, this young lady said to me, "Mr. Dodge, how come you're so smart?" I'm just glowing on the inside. And I said, "Well, first of all, I'm 76. I was much younger than I am now. And I've got a lot of lessons." And she said this to me, "Bill, because my grandpa does not talk or act like you." Wow. That was one of those moments. Okay, I'm going to do something about this. I realize I've been blessed with a lot of energy. However I got it, I've got a... Okay, thank you, God, for the Spirit and this ability to have high energy. And so I went back to where she was sitting at the end of the class, and I said, "Well, I said, get with Grandpa as soon as you can and ask him some questions about his life. And if Grandma's still here, ask him how they met. And then Because in that moment I realized that our young people aren't, I was one of them. They're not talking to their elders, not finding out, did they go to the service? Did they do this? What happened? And so I went back to her towards the end of class, and they all had phones. So
Right.
she went to chat, and she didn't know what questions to ask, so she typed in, I think, some questions that she could ask Grandpa. And I got a whole series of questions that I can give people to help them get that information out. And I don't know. I hope to see her someday, and she'll say, Mr. Dodge, thank you, because I talked to my grandpa, or I talked to my aunt or uncle, I talked to my parents. So let me see if I'll do one. I got rid of them. Let's see. We talked about that. You'll never amount to anything. Dodge, you can do it. Let's see. Oh, mentors and teachers along the way. Leo Biscaglia. Amway. I was in Amway for a while when I first started in 1979. That's when I discovered Dennis Waitley. Dennis Waitley, Psychology of Winning, one of the best motivational speakers around. He passed away about a year ago. My mantra when I coached my Little League team was always have fun and improve. I felt like I'm John Wooden. He never focused on winning.
Right.
Have fun and improve, and I'm bringing that back to me now. Have fun and improve. Vera Self, you were a teacher. I've had 2 stints of substitute teaching, one in 2001, there we go, to 2003. Oh, I love the work. Didn't pay enough. All right? At least I didn't think it did, but it gave me a lot. Mm-hmm. And then Toastmasters. And then when I came into Toastmasters in 1995, they had a 4-year goal to getting Distinguished Toastmaster. And I achieved it. And I opened the door for others to do the same thing. And it's like I felt like I was Roger Bannister and running the 4-minute mile. When you do something, then somebody goes, "Oh, I can do that." But anyway,
Right.
So I think we and to let everybody know they make a difference.
Yeah.
They do. They make a difference, and whatever's going on, your life matters. And if I can add anything to it, just let me know. Chuck Dodge, Mr. Enthusiasm, also known as the Connector now.
Nice. Nice. Well, I think you answered my final question was going to be, what advice do you have for people? But it sounds like
be here now.
Yeah.
There's so many things. Give up all that you think you are for all that you could become. Now that's a loaded thing. Mm-hmm. Find someone who sees greatness in you. In '94, when I was leaving Myers, I went to 10 people and I said, I'm applying for a job. I wasn't. I was just looking for endorsements. And I asked 10 people of different ages and people, would you write me a recommendation? You wouldn't believe the stuff that people wrote about me was phenomenal. I still have those. Uh-huh. So ask other people what they think about you. Don't ask the people that don't like you, but ask people. Get some feedback. Start to create a portfolio of your personal greatness. Yeah, there's a lot of things, but love yourself and set some new goals. And then find a community that can help you and support and encourage you. So there's I'll put it in the book.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to spend the next year. I'm going to be writing and speaking, and I want to do some work with Doug as well. He's got some goals, and I think he's got a different agenda, and I think together we can do well.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you taking time this afternoon to sit and talk with me. It was a pleasure learning about your life and your experience, and thank you so much, Chuck.
Well, thank you, Bill, for being there for just about 1 hour. No, we could meet, and here we are. So there was...
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast and for helping us honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's veterans. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with others so more people can hear these important stories. To learn more about our mission, watch additional veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m.